So as we get started here, let's get into kind of the first part of our podcast, which is obviously the comedic topic. Today's comedic topic is going to be all about the Charlotte Hornets. First of all, it's important for people to know context within us delivering this message because we were scheduled to record this 2 weeks ago. So within the last 2 weeks, the following has happened. For one, that was the day where there was crazy storms outside, flooding throughout tons of central North Carolina. Um, there's still this is I don't mean to make it a somber moment, but I would be remiss to say that there were still issues with Mebane, North Carolina, right down the road with like serious water supply issues. So like it was a huge storm. It obviously impacted our ability to do anything, and we're glad that everyone is safe. That being said, let's focus on the topic at hand. Uh, since we first recorded this, the Charlotte Hornets have won the NBA Summer League, which is like
First title in history, first accomplishment.
it's
Hang it in the
honestly
rafters.
since the 90s might be their greatest accomplishment.
Absolutely, it is. Since they came back as the Bobcats, it without a question.
So let's get into why I personally believe they're the most cursed. But actually, before we even get into that, can you give kind of a brief history for the listeners about like this is the history of the Charlotte Bobcats slash Hornets and
Sure.
what has become of them?
Yeah, absolutely. So the team came back from the Hornets that we knew in the 90s. In 2004, they returned as the Charlotte Bobcats. They had since then 3 seasons under 20 wins, five under 30 wins, eight total, and 17 total in under 40 wins. So they've only had four 40-win seasons and three playoff appearances in 21 years. They have been abysmal, and they've tried. Actually, that's really the sad part is they've tried
Right.
throughout this entire time. They've given real effort to compete, and they're just not that good. It's Yeah. So in 2004, it really started when they were granted the fourth pick as an expansion team. The league gave them the pick. They then traded it up and drafted Emeka Okafor. Good player, but obviously you look back and revisionist history says that they could have taken other guys, but Devin Harris, Luol Deng, Andre Iguodala, Al Jefferson, Josh Smith, J.R. Smith, the list goes on of just guys that were really good. Context applies. They're not taking a lot of these guys at that range, but Emeka Okafor was super productive in college, and
Yes.
he was a good little young piece to start their franchise.
I think that the way that I and like the way we discussed this was there's two elements to being cursed, right? The first one is obvious, which is who did you pick or who did you miss on? Like those are discussed by every franchise all the time. Like we could have had Jokic, we could have had Anthony Davis, we could have had et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And
Totally.
those within this conversation are truly hilarious. There are especially egregious years when you think about 2011, 2012, and 2014, which I will gladly discuss in a moment. But to me, the more cursed part about the Hornets is what is the pick you should have had based on your lottery odds that you did not get? Now,
Right.
upon the research from you, you made it clear that in 2004, when they were the Bobcats, they didn't have an option to get Dwight Howard anyway. So that was not on the table. Initially, what I thought was, oh my goodness, they could have had the number one pick. They could have had Dwight Howard. They could have had one of the greatest centers in the history of basketball. And instead, they ended up with Emeka Okafor. Now, first of all, your point I think was really big. Like Emeka Okafor in college was him beyond him. Like he averaged 19, 13, and 5. He won a national championship, and he was on one of the greatest teams in the history of college basketball in the 2004 UConn Huskies. So it's not like this guy was a slouch, but when you look back throughout the course of his career, injury ridden, like had tons of issues in terms of his just not able really to get things going outside of maybe one season. So 2004 automatically, I mean, if you talk about who they missed on, you really said it already. Like, wouldn't you like to have Luol Deng,
Sure.
Andre Iguodala? I mean, Al Jefferson, like the name that jumps off the list here to me is Al Jefferson. Like, I know that he battled injuries of his own, but when you start talking about one of the most productive below the rim players with less than three dribbles, certainly in the last 25 years, he's up there, man. Like, you got to take a guy like that.
Well, and to your point, they made good on that mistake, and then they signed him 10 years later,
Fair play. Yeah, the 10-year reunion where they get him
7 years later.
absolutely wild. But it doesn't get better in 2005. Like 2005, and this is one where it's truly a testament to the pick you should have gotten and didn't. And the reason that I say that is everyone knew Andrew Bogut was going number one. Marvin Williams had a ton of buzz after North Carolina's national championship run. But when you start talking about these point guards, right? Initially, people probably thought all three of these guys were home runs. And I think that was the narrative of that draft, if I'm not mistaken.
Sure. Yeah, but to your point, they were supposed to get the third pick. They end up getting the fifth pick. Darren Williams and Chris Paul, 3 and 4. Raymond Felton goes fifth, and then with their other pick, they draft Sean May over Danny Granger. So it's just again, they can't get out of their own way. They're drafting Ray Felton, a good player, solid player, had almost an all-star that one year. Um, just it hurts when you're supposed to get other guys, especially someone like Chris Paul, who not only would have changed the entire trajectory of the franchise, but from North Carolina, obviously, and went to college in North Carolina, and just would have been a unbelievable. If there was ever a pick that needed to be fixed, please, David Stern, where were you on this one?
Yeah, where were you on that one, buddy? That's 100% right. And the other thing too is it's not like Raymond Felton had a bad NBA career. He's a 15-year veteran.
Right.
The difference is, again, when you talk about the curse, about who you missed on, you should have gotten a top 75 player ever. Instead, you don't. And
Correct.
so when you start thinking about like, well, I could have had Al Jefferson, I could have had Chris Paul, and then it just continues to build going into the next one. 2006 is so bad. I literally forgot who they picked until this moment, even after recording. And that's not to say that it was a particularly solid draft, but when you look at their third overall pick, picking Adam Morrison, like I get it after college, but it was so bad that it's impossible to just look past. You passed on Brandon Roy. Again, injuries derailed his career, but when he was in the NBA, he may have been a top two shooting guard in the league. I mean, would you agree with that? That's pretty close.
There's a reason he's my header on Twitter. That's the I live and die by the Brandon Royce sword.
So you could have had a team of Al Jefferson, a team sans curse, of course. You could have had a team of Al Jefferson, Chris Paul, Brandon Roy slash Rudy Gay slash anyone else that you could have possibly gotten. I'm trying to look at some other people in the two.
Yeah, I so I'm gonna instead of having Al Jefferson, how about we take Luol Deng or Andre Iguodala, who are just flat out better.
Yeah, and I think that that's fair. But I mean, even a backcourt of like, say you get Luol Deng, right, who is a tremendous player, I believe was an all-star, if I'm not mistaken. Like he
Yeah,
was or was not.
yeah. You said
So I
Luol.
mean, an all-star small forward plus Chris Paul plus Brandon Roy slash
Can you
Rudy.
imagine a team with Chris Paul and Brandon Roy?
I mean,
Stupid.
it's just insanity. It's just a series of a series of like historically bad luck, but also just incompetence. Like this was a true failure by them in 2006. Just awful. I mean, those are the first 3 years, Jeff. Like that's what hurts the most. It's absolute insanity.
True, but they're getting better. They're trying. They went from
Sure, sure.
18 wins to 26, and then here we go. After drafting Adam Morrison, they 33 wins. Uh, got Brennan Wright from Carolina over Joakim Noah, most notably, and just not a lot of guys they would have taken in this range that ended up being super awesome. But that's the big one that hurts, and that rounds out our dream team of hypothetical picks here. They now have their center with Joakim Noah, so it's tough.
Who do
Brandon
you
Wright,
think?
solid role player, but player efficiency darling, but
Right.
not a.
No, 100%. That's well said.
I
Who
mean, do you ever remember back then when they used to show his numbers? He was unbelievable in 13 to 18 minutes a game, and then was the same amount of production in any more minutes. If he could play him 40 minutes, he was going to give you the same amount of production as
That is hilarious. We got to find one of those graphics, but we can't because our production value is zero.
yeah.
Uh,
Someone get on that.
what would you say in terms of like notable years for this franchise where it was just an absolute calamity? I have three personally, but I'd love to hear just what you're thinking in terms of like, oh my God, this was just awful.
Yeah, I think the main one that sticks out to me is the 2012 year. That one really, I think it's just a knife in the gut. They
It's
were
so bad.
awful. They were so bad, and they don't even get the first pick, which would have again another even more so than Chris Paul. Anthony Davis at the time was a surefire, guaranteed all-star, all NBA potential first pick. And there was not a doubt that he was going to be great. And when they get the second pick, not only do they not get Anthony Davis, but then they don't draft Bradley Beal. So they take Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, who just never figured it out offensively, especially with the jump shot. And I think that was, to me, one of the most painful years. I'm not even a fan of the franchise. I find it egregious.
But you also have to look at like it's not just Bradley Beal, it's Damian Lillard.
Sure.
And then the second round picks that year, you're looking at Chris Middleton and Draymond Green. And
Even worse, even
like
worse.
like you can't
They
look at like a second round pick compared to the second overall pick. I get that. Like I understand that a GM is never going to think about it in terms of that. But when you start thinking about like guys, you missed on two multi all-star players that are like pretty like I mean these are full these are max contract guys at a certain point. I mean this is
arguably the
right.
worst part about all this, if people might not even remember this wrinkle, Oklahoma City offered James Harden for the number 2 pick. That was declined. And then they offered the same deal to Washington for 3, and that was also declined.
Oh my gosh.
So
That is that's beyond bad. That's absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, how about this though to follow that up? You want to talk about again a series of just ultimate failures in terms of these three in a row. I haven't even mentioned the Bismack draft, which was 2011, because these next three are just truly so bad. 2013, they draft Cody Zeller. Now, as I'm looking at this draft, that means they passed on CJ McCollum. That means they passed on Giannis. That hurts.
I'm
That's a
going to have to be the person to apply context here, though. Not a great draft. And those, like, even at the time, they weren't going to draft those guys.
no
Cody Zeller,
question. But
solid pro.
like it's the whole conversation though, right? You miss on Giannis and Rudy Gobert and you pick Cody Zeller. And again, this is no knock to any of these guys. We're not like taking shots at pros. We know how difficult it is to get to that place. But still, like that hurts.
Yeah, no, it's tough. It's tough to swallow.
And
Terrible draft.
then and then the next year, who did they draft in 2014? Do you know?
Noah Vonleh.
Not much better, man. Not
Yeah.
much better. I mean,
Again,
especially
look
when
at the range they're picking in though. In defense of them, they Zach Levine was probably the pick or TJ Warren, but
but again, should they have been moved up? Because there's some killers in this draft. I mean, you've got Embiid, like you've got solid pieces. You've got Julius Randle. Pretty
yeah, but
remarkable that Nick, you want to talk about an ascension in that draft. This is not related to the Hornets, by the way. Nick Stauskas at 8. Talk
man,
about an ascension following Michigan's championship
played
run.
the
It's
least seasons of
unbelievable.
anybody in the lottery that
Say it again.
played the least seasons of any lottery pick from that draft.
Has to, right? I
It
mean,
has to.
like you got Doug McDermott, you got Elfrid Payton. I digress, obviously, because we're no longer talking about the curse of the Hornets. But here's the other kind of flip side to this. The last few years, I think you would agree, that it seems like there has been a turn. Like me personally, I love the con pick. I actually
Sure.
think I texted you about the con pick when it happened because his floor is so high in the NBA. Like, I
Hmm.
don't think that his ceiling will be nearly as high as many other people in the draft. But you know that that's a need of that team, right? Especially if you're planning to keep LaMelo, which I haven't heard anything otherwise. Um, do I think he'll stay there like as a career Hornet? I do not. I don't know anyone that will. But I think that when you think about like Brandon Miller plus Khan, plus the fact that they've got this talented team and a little bit of buzz following the summer league. Do you remember what their over under on wins was for the season?
Yeah, I think it was in like the high 20s. Let me see. I think it was 27.
Well, they're not going to win that.
While I'm looking for this, yeah, I think to your LaMelo point, I don't think it's the problem with him is I think he's just an 25 and a half.
That I think I'm going to go over.
That yeah, maybe. But that was what I was about to say. It's all contingent upon LaMelo Ball. I mean, not only, I mean, he's a productive guy. He's fun. He's entertaining. He's flashy.
For
He's
sure.
he's a exciting piece. People love him. He's a social media star, but he doesn't play. He's hurt all the time. And
Right.
even when he does play, is the basketball that he's playing conducive to winning basketball games at the highest level? I'm
Right.
not sure. I don't think you can really succeed in the NBA if LaMelo Ball is your best player. I'm not sure if you can do that if he's even your second best player at this point. He's incredibly talented. Let that not be lost in this.
Right.
His ability to lead a team, questionable. Brandon Miller, like him, would like to see prolonged health with him as well. Con Nipple, I'm interested to see what he is, but I agree with you. I mean, he's a high floor guy. And I think that they're just trying to get guys in there who are pros and guys who are safe picks at this point, who Liam McNeely, another one, guys who are going to be solid in the locker room and maybe a potential trade bait later. Maybe they are going to eventually move off LaMelo when his value's high enough that they can get something back. I mean, I don't know that they're going to position themselves ever to have a deal like the Houston Kevin Durant deal where they trade Jalen Green. I don't know if LaMelo Ball's values is even as high as Jalen Green's right now, but we'll see.
I mean, when you're looking at their roster right now, right? Miles Bridges still there. Grant Williams still there, albeit coming off injury. Adding Colin Sexton was interesting. I don't hate it. I don't hate that move.
He's a professional scorer.
Yeah, like I think that again, like older guy. Um, there's some real like interesting adding Mason Plumlee, like interesting veteran move, adding Pat
It feels like
Connaughton.
Mason Plumlee never left.
Right. And they
It
have
feels
and
like
they
he's been
have
a
Dinwiddie.
lifelong Hornet.
Did I miss that? They added Dinwiddie and Taj Gibson. I mean,
Yeah, they
they
signed
have,
Dinwiddie.
they have vets. Like
Yeah, they
this
have some
seems like a
solid bets.
more better.
They have 48 guards.
Right. That's the problem.
Yeah, Nurkic and Plumlee are going to be their centers. They have a lot of
Right.
nice pieces on the perimeter. They have a lot of good threes and guards and fours even. But what are they? They have no bigs. They have no real bigs. Musa Diabate might be their starting center.
Yikes.
Big
Well,
fan of Musa in high school, but
we will see what becomes of the Hornets. As North Carolinians, it is always better when North Carolina teams do well. It is always more fun for the state. It is always more
rarely
fun for
happens.
conversations. It just happens so few and far in between. Um, I will say that unlike the Hornets, the glory years of the 2015 Carolina Panthers, I really wish that the Hornets could experience something similar.
What about what was the other one like? Oh 04?
Yes, you're talking about Delhomme.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Some real opportunities there for my Panthers. I'm also a Panthers fan, by the way. I don't know if I ever made that clear, but die hard since 95, baby. Anyway, moving on.
I picked the
Uh,
Steelers when I was 4 because the colors on Blitz 2000 were cool.
that makes sense. I
And
picked the Panthers because when I moved from North Carolina to Pennsylvania, I didn't want to choose between the two Pennsylvania teams, so I just picked this random franchise team, new franchise in
Fresh
Carolina.
start.
Barely,
I had to weather the Tommy Maddox days.